Hey guys, please ignore the air conditioner in the background. Welcome to Punky's World. This is a case for my mother's 72nd birthday. I want to place you in the year 1954. This is the year of my mother's birth. This isn't a time of horse-drawn carriages. This is a world of radios in kitchens, black and white TVs beginning to appear in living rooms, and newspapers that now move faster and farther than ever before. But even in 1954, many places were still quite isolated in their own way. Small towns still relied heavily on word of mouth, local law enforcement, and slow building of information through newspapers and phone calls that were not always reliable or immediate. It was also a time when America's post-war suburbs were growing. There was a sense of progress, changing family lifestyles, although those things hadn't reached every corner yet. And in that world of 1954, the disappearance of Bertha Kennaway was reported. Anna Kennaway and her husband Philip both worked third shift at Pratt & Whitney in East Hartford, Connecticut. They had been married since August of 1942 and lived on Little Street in Manchester. But by June 1954, their marriage had fallen apart, where they no longer shared meals or rides to work. When Anna went missing that summer, Philip never reported her disappearance to authorities. Instead, he waited a couple of years and then filed for divorce. Some say he did that so he could be with another woman that he met. Philip told family members Anna had run off one evening after an argument while he had gone to the movies alone. They did not believe him. So I guess we know who the potential suspect is. This is them at their son's wedding. They are circled right here. She had two sons from a previous marriage. She was 43 years old, 5 feet 5 inches, 150 pounds, brown hair and blue eyes. The last time her children or anyone in her family heard from her was June 4th, 1954. When her children first contacted police told them the husband had to be the one to report her missing. When he refused to do so, her children persisted and eventually got police to do a cursory investigation in July. He said that she took several $1,000s, which is a ton of money now, if you do the conversion. A religious statue, and her clothes. Why would she take a religious statue? Was this religious statue heavy enough to do her in? Family members put classified ads in the newspapers, which was common back then to try to get in contact with someone. And she was legally declared dead in 1991. Well, it seems that the granddaughter went to the police and begged them around the 50th anniversary to check to go through the case again, and told them that her grandfather had built a new garage with a poured concrete floor. At the time that her grandmother went missing. And they used ground-penetrating radar with permission from the current owners of the home to look for anomalies under the garage, a nearby shed, and some parts of the backyard. After searching with an archaeologist, GPR, and everything else, all they found was dirt, undisturbed dirt, even when they dug. Philip died in 1995. His new wife died in 2005. She lived in the home until 1997. If you have any information in this case, you can call the Manchester Police Department at 860-645-5544. That's 860-645-5544. Cases like this remind us that even in a more modern time, one with faster communication, more structured investigations, and expanding technology, there were still people who could vanish without a clear answer. Records remain incomplete, details grow thinner with time, and what was once urgent news slowly becomes history. But for the people who lived it, it never fades away. There is a date attached to this story, 1954, but behind that date was a real person, a real life, and a moment that changed the shape of the people who knew her. And as time moves forward, cases like Bertha Kennaway become more than just entries in an archive. They become reminders of how fragile certainty can be, even in a world that believed it was becoming more connected and more complete. Sometimes the past feels distant, and sometimes it doesn't feel far away at all. I want to thank ChatGPT for helping me write that. Again, that's the year that my mother was born. Manchester, for those of you who don't know, was a suburb of Hartford, a bigger town, probably a little more modern than some of the smaller towns and villages around it. This case actually ties into both of my parents, because my father's family lived in Broadbrook, a village in East Windsor, and they lived in Manchester, some of them. So that area is very deeply entrenched in my family. And of course, like I said, my mother was born in 1954. She was born in Maine, in the city of Lewiston. She grew up further north in farm country on a dairy farm. In a very different world. What do I mean by that? I mean no power, no running water, none of that stuff, which you'd expect in 1954. But because of where she lived, they didn't have that. Well, they did have that when she was born, because they lived in a different town, closer to town. But when they moved on to the farm and began working the dairy farm, they didn't. And it was much too expensive to bring electricity and water up to the top of that hill. So it just never happened. But yeah, it was a different time though. It was a much simpler time. People today don't think of that time as a time where people went missing or where spouses could do something nefarious to their spouse, which seems like might be the case here. It's definitely a prime suspect in my mind. Let me know what you think. It just seems odd. He never reported her missing. He just moved on with life, and the police wouldn't take a missing report from her family. Police were very different back then when it came to adults being missing. They're an adult, they have a right to be missing, or if a teenager goes missing, ask he or she is a runaway. Ignore it. You know, that kind of a thing. It was a different time in society and a different time in law enforcement. So, we can't fault them for the time they lived in and the beliefs that were held in the time that they lived in. So, I want to thank you so much for being here. Please join me tomorrow for the very last case of All-American July. And I will see you for Unidentified August after that. And I hope that you'll join me for that. Please subscribe, please hype. I'm really trying to get to 600 subscribers by Thanksgiving. We're at 527. We can do this. Before next year is out, I'd like to be at 1,000. I know that's asking a lot, but I do believe we can do it. So, thank you so much, guys. God bless you. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.